Day 2 of Tim Walz on the campaign trail as the VP nominee, and this guy has already become the laughingstock, but he has particularly angered veterans, like me, with previous claims surfacing that he actually went to war. We told you last night that he resigned early from his enlistment because his unit was to be deployed to Iraq. But that didn't stop him a few years ago when he was campaigning saying, oh, I'd gone to war.
I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Weapons of war that you carried in war. Okay, Tim, what weapon and in what war did you carry it in? J.D. Vance had the same question today.
Well, I wonder, Tim Walz, when were you ever in war? When was this, what was this weapon that you carried into war, given that you abandoned your unit right before they went to Iraq, and he has not spent a day in a combat zone? What bothers me about Tim Walz is the stolen valor garbage. Do not pretend to be something that you're not.
Now everybody is asking him this question, including, finally, the press pool is.
Governor, Vance accused you of stolen valor. Your response? Governor, Vance accused you of stolen valor. Your response?
Guy didn't even try to answer the question. This needs to be asked every single day, folks. This is super important. Look, this is the cardinal sin among veterans, to claim military service that you did not do. It's so verifiable that I'm like beside myself that someone would say they went to war when they didn't. Especially when guys like him got out of the military because they were being called to war. The center of all this, all of his political campaigns have been, oh, look at me, I'm a veteran. And it's like Tim Walz either didn't notice or think we would notice, or maybe that we're too dumb to comprehend, like most Democrats. He just lies with impunity and thinks that therefore that's the truth. Yesterday at his rally, he took a jab at Trump. And look, I was like, bro, this is not going to end well for your political career.
First of all, he doesn't know the first thing about service. He doesn't have time for it because he's too busy serving himself.
Look, I'm tired of I'm tired of your bone spur talking point from Vietnam. Okay, look, Trump was not in the military, but you want to talk about service, dude? Trump almost got shot in the head 3 weeks ago. He took one in the ear instead and stood up and yelled, fight, 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 and then went out and did another rally like 2 days later. DJT is a billionaire who could be sitting on a private beach somewhere that he owns, drinking margaritas in the sun, but nope. Instead, he's getting prosecuted in deep blue jurisdictions for things that aren't even crimes. In one case, by a prosecutor who was illegally appointed, who raided his Mar-a-Lago home. DJT spends every day getting crapped on by like 90% of the media, who just prior to him running as a Republican, they used to love him. Don't lecture me about service, Tim. You got a military paycheck for 24 years to prepare for war. And the second they called your name, you dipped out. You joined the military, but then when you were called to do the one thing the military trained you to do and counted on you doing, which is go to war, you bailed, Tim Walz. Just like you bailed on supporting our veterans when you were in Congress. One of Tim's former colleagues weighed in on this yesterday. Representative Jim Banks said on Twitter, quote, I served my first 2 years in Congress with Tim Walz on the House Veterans Committee. Walz opposed the most important veteran legislation passed in decades just because it was President Trump's. The Mission Act was very bipartisan, but Walz opposed giving our veterans better access to health care because he didn't want to give President Trump a win. Wow. Wow. This tells you everything you need to know about this guy. I mean, I can't say I'm surprised, because Tim Walz is a radical party-centric ideologue, lunatic. And Trump, the guy Walz is up there criticizing, did more for veterans than any recent president in my lifetime. And what did Kamala Harris do? His now running mate. What did she do with Joe Biden? They rehired all of the 8,000 bad VA employees that Trump fired with back pay and paid out massive bonuses illegally. And as a result of that out-of-control spending in the VA that didn't put veterans first, in as little as 2 weeks, folks, we covered it on this show, veterans' disability benefits, forget like actually going to war, unlike Tim Walz, might get cut because the VA is over budget. Not one word about that from the Democrat VP candidate who claims to have honorably served his country. Get bent. Tim Walz is the John Kerry of 2020. Actually, he's even worse. At least John Kerry actually was physically at war. Walz didn't even go. Look, if you know a veteran, this monologue will be posted on the Newsmax Twitter in, I don't know, like an hour, okay? Send this to them. Send it to everybody they know. Not one of the 22 million veterans should be voting for Tim Walz and Kamala Harris in the next 90 days. This election is shaping up to be a bunch of stolen valor, purple-haired, pride flag-waving betas and feminists versus American muscle who believe the nuclear family is great, limited government, and individual rights. Choose wisely, America.